Hello, and welcome to a very special 8-minute demo video series. Today, we're going through a video tutorial on OAS 6.3 Advanced Workflow Design and Best Practice Video Shorts. Yep, these are going to be smaller videos on specific topics. And the topic we're going to talk about right now is Policy Engine Rules. Now it's time to talk about Policy Engine Rules. These are pipeline Policy Engine Rules. We will not be talking about legacy mode here. We did talk about legacy mode in the pipeline and legacy mode video, but this is all about pipeline mode since that's the default and it's going to be what is used going forward. So there are 4 basic policy engine rules, and I've broken them out into tabs here for each little policy example. And the first one is downstream object. So run program would be downstream to query database, and send platform event would be downstream to both. Downstream objects run as often as the object executed before or the number of multiple value data items that object generates. So, and you've seen this in various other videos, my query database object is going to select some amount of data, and I'm controlling how much in this example, and there's three different commands, and I realize I have dir spelled wrong. I have it spelled dirt, my favorite incorrect command. So I have 3 outputs from this, so multi-value data, and with no special link filtering on this, it's going to move forward, and this will execute 3 times, and the data will be passed in to this command field, and it will try to execute on the local host. Then I have opened up the link here for success, warning, or fail because I know that one of them will produce a failure. And then the send platform event, I'm just getting object status from the run program. I could very well just hard-coded text in there. It doesn't really matter because this object is going to execute the number of times this object is, and this object's going to execute the number of multi-value items that were generated from this object. So let's start this up, and it completed. If we go into events, yes, because dirt isn't available, but the program execution was successful, so that's not a big deal there. But either way, we got 3 executions for 3 different objects because this guy executed once, 3 times, 3 times. That's all we're trying to show here anyway. All right, with the second rule is that links filter execution, and each link is evaluated after every object. So let's take a look at this. So in this one, it looks similar. I have a query database, and I'm querying for 3 server names, and one of them is going to produce an error. And in the run program, we're passing that server name in, and we're just going to do an ipconfig. And then we have links here, so we're going to have some data that goes down here and some data that goes down here. This means that this, just because this executed once and this did 3 times, each of these won't execute 3 times. This one will execute only the number of successes, and this will execute only the number of fails. And I have set that in the link behavior here based on object status, and then I'm just outputting object status to these events. I'm going to clear out the events and run this. And there we go. We have 1 failed and 2 success. If we didn't use the links, we'd have 3 go down the failed and 3 go up the success. Because we use the links, they filter the execution, and then each of them is evaluated every time. So if we can add another one of these, and we'll just change the colors here, we'll make it that dark blue, and this will be other, doesn't matter. And the include statement, we're going to put success, warning, or fail, just like we did on the first one. And then we'll just, for a different color, we'll change that to warning. And this will be other. All right, now we'll clear out the logs first, the events. Run this. And there we are. We have 3 warnings because it went down this path, 2 information, which is the success path, and 1 error. And what we're showing here is that the links are filtering execution, and if you are letting everything pass, that will abide by the first rule, which is an object will run as often as the object before it. So links are obviously an exception to that first rule. Third rule, no policy level looping. Well, in policy level looping, which is like circular graphs, which we've drawn here. And now this has another problem with it, and that would be the fact that where's the starting point? The pipeline mode doesn't have a clue where this starts. It could start anywhere. So if we check this out and check it in, it throws an error. It's not a great error because it doesn't start with an enabled object. That should actually be it has multiple starting points. And again, it'll let you check it in, but it won't work. So even if we add a custom start to give it a defined start point and try to check it in, it contains a cycle. So just keep that in mind. You cannot draw circular graphs or cycles in your workflows, and there are certainly other ways around that. I talk about it in the pipeline and legacy mode video as well as the looping video. So that's rule number 3, no in-policy looping. And rule number 4, which is a little more extensive. So I have 2 policies, and this is parallel execution is permitted only if you have it set properly in the policy and your trigger is appropriate. So I have 2 policies. One is the master and one is the child policy. And in this child policy, one of the first things that has to be set for this sub-policy run in parallel is on the Run Behavior tab. Has to be in pipeline mode first of all, and then you have to set the maximum number of simultaneous requests to a number higher than 1, so it could run in parallel. So this is set to 25. It's very high. I'm not going to execute this 25 times in a row. And it's just going to take in a bit of data and then create an event. No big deal. And we're going to clear out the events table before we run this. And then here, we've got a query database. We're grabbing those 3 commands again. We're running a program. And then we're outputting the object status to the trigger. Now, it's key here that you do not check wait for completion. And we'll run it once without, which is the appropriate way to have parallel processing. And then I'll show you why. So I'm going to hit start, and then this one will start pretty quickly, and we'll see 3 running here at one time. Now I did put a delay in this link so that these would actually stall, so they would show that there are 3 currently running. If you had 50, it would show 50. Whatever your limit is, so that limit was 25, so it could only do 25 at a time, and then as one finished, another one would pick up, so on and so forth. It goes into the queue, just like normal policy execution. But parallel execution is set at the policy level, and you have to have pipeline and then a number greater than 1. And then in the trigger policy object where you're triggering that policy multiple times, you cannot have wait for completion checked. It has to be unchecked. Now if you do wait for completion, what's going to happen is it's going to queue all these requests. So we'll start this up, and regardless how many parallel execution things you have set here, it'll only do 1 at a time. And then wait and go through, and wait and go through, and wait and go through. You can see that it's working through them. There's the second one, so on and so forth. So 4th rule of the policy engine is parallel execution is permitted by the policy under certain conditions. The trigger policy has to be set to not wait for complete, and the policy properties need to be set to something greater than 1 in pipeline mode. I think I've covered that too many times already. So that's it. Those are the 4 main policy engine rules for the pipeline mode of Opala Integration Server. We certainly appreciate you watching. Thank you.